What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we got a little bit of crazy information in regards to yet another Sugo-Fest exclusive coming to One Piece Treasure Cruise. This is going to be the release of the first Seraphim in Treasure Cruise, not only just in normal content. Like, I was expecting the Seraphim to debut as rare recruits or potentially free-to-play units, but SHawk, the Mihawk Seraphim, is going to be debuting here as a Rumble Sugo-Fest exclusive. Now, while Rumble Legends are probably the least exciting releases of One Piece Treasure Cruise in terms of the Sugo-Fest exclusives, the interesting thing obviously is with the recent update 13.4.1, I believe it was, introducing the mechanic of Rumble Legends only having 20 cost, which makes a big difference in team building. And I want to make an additional video at some point talking about these Rumble Legends and actually ranking them separately, because Rumble Legends with this new buff of cost reduction is a game changer in Rumble, and it really does truly make a difference to determining how good or bad certain characters are now that you can inject them into teams. So the fact that Rumble Hawk, SHawk, is debuting, he's going to have 20 cost, so you can put him in a lot more teams more efficiently in Rumble, so he's going to see more play, which is good to see. So it makes these Rumble Legends much more valuable. Now, what does he actually do? Because that's obviously a big point of contention. We'll go through that in just a moment. Apparently, the data miners have also said that the debuting SHawk will be partnered alongside Rumble Legend Kuma. I was hoping that Apu was going to be alongside him, but apparently Kuma is going to be the Rumble Legend with him. Hopefully they introduce, Apu alongside him, because if Apu is on the banner, I'm going to be pretty excited about that. But I will say, debuting with Kuma thematically makes sense, and Kuma honestly received probably the biggest buff of all of these characters, not only getting the cost reduction, special CT reduction, but what Kuma actually does is insane for a 20 cost unit. It's insane. But let's actually talk about SHawk. Let's see what this character is all about. So remember, he is an actual legend, so he has normal kits for his captain and special. So his captain ability, well, you can see here, his int slasher driven. Interesting. I was expecting potentially all of the Seraphim to be powerhouse characters, but that's not the case. He's going to go ahead and give -1 cooldown. He gives Slasher and Driven an attack boost based on the tap timing of the previous character's attack from 4.75 to 5.75. Slightly boosts chances of Slasher and Driven landing matching slots, and completely removes paralysis and special bind. Now, this is not the most broken captain ability in the game, but one thing I do like about it is it grabs components of previously released characters, because Legend Mihawk V1, the first Legend Mihawk to debut, had this mechanic of giving the attack boost based on the tap timing of the previous character. I think it was relatively similar to this. I know you had to continuously hit perfects with him, something along those lines when he first came out. I don't even remember what V1 Mihawk is after level limit break, but I know that it's somewhat similar. And then this component, completely removing his own paralysis and special bind, this partners up really well, as it kind of works with what we saw with Alba. Alba debuting as obviously he's a Lunarian, and he has this effect of removing certain debuffs on himself completely. And we see the Seraphims also have this effect, which I think is really cool. I like that they're doing that, grabbing themes from characters to it just makes sense. Like, this makes sense as a captain ability for SHawk, and it just makes me think, if they're going to do other Seraphim as characters, hopefully not all of them are going to be legends, but we'll see, they're probably going to have this component of resisting debuffs, so it's cool. Let's move on to his special. The special ability does a lot. It's a lot of junk, a lot of like fluff wording, but let's go through it. So first of all, he reduces paralysis and special bind by 6 turns. Obviously, his captain ability does resist it completely on himself. So as a captain, being able to always remove special bind with the special is good. And then this component, he does 50% of the total damage dealt from normal attacks in the previous turn to all enemies as non-type damage. So this is somewhat similar to, I think there was like a free-to-play ulti that came out. I think it was a treasure map character, and she came out and she had a very similar special to this. This is like a nerfed version of V2 Dofi, because I think V2 Dofi was like 2 times or 2.5 times, but this is like basically 0.5 times the amount of damage you've done. So if you, in your normal attacks, you do like 2 million damage, when you launch his special in the next turn, he's going to do 1 million damage with his special to all enemies. So it can be pretty good. Like, this could potentially help you out significantly. It's a pretty strong effect. Of course, normal attacks only does still nerf these types of specials. It further says that slasher and driven characters get a tap timing chain boost. So if you hit perfects consecutively, you're going to be getting a 0.6 chain increase rather than the 0.3 natural increase. And this partners well with his captain, because you want to continuously hit perfects to reach that 5.5 maximum multiplier, so it makes sense. So you get goods 0.2, great 0.4, perfect 0.6, and that is also for 1 turn. And then it says boost the attack of the next final tap performed by a slasher or driven character by 30%. And this effect here, it says similar effects can stack up to 200%. The effect will be spent during the final tap, blah, 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 blah. Again, this is all like fluff text here, but this is very similar to what we had with V3 Rayleigh with his Super Evolution. He also did this with his special, giving buffs to slashers with the next final tap. We saw like the Momo batch had this mechanic too. Obviously the New Year's Legend Yamato also had this effect. I'm not the biggest fan of this. Like, yes, it can give you a bit of extra damage, but you're not realistically using final taps all that much. And especially with a special like this, I don't expect this to be used alongside other final taps. At least I can't think of any good final taps you'd be using this alongside at the moment, because most of the times final taps are really only used against super bosses, and I don't think you're going to be using this guy against a super boss. I don't think so, probably not. We'll see. Maybe there's a case for it. But there is one additional effect here which says if Dracul Mihawk or Daz Bones Mr. 1 has launched a special in this turn, boost the crew's damage dealt when landing a critical hit by 50%. The effect applies only to characters with critical attack potential ability up to 100%. Now, this component of the special has got people talking. So, okay, the Dracul Mihawk makes sense, but then the Daz Bones is really interesting. Now, I can't remember exactly if... I'm pretty sure S. Mihawk had Daz Bones as Devil Fruit, right? Where he has the ability to change parts of his body into blades. I think he does, right? And obviously it's based off of Mihawk and you know, Daz Bones' Devil Fruit, so this does make sense. However, these two characters of Daz Bones and Dracul Mihawk are currently in tandem with each other right now with Cross Guild. So people have been speculating that Cross Guild will be coming in the next, you know, iteration of the Global Anniversary Part 2, the Fearsome Foes celebration. People have been speculating about, you know, Cross Guild potentially arriving. But then again, look, people have been speculating about Cross Guild since the New Year celebration. So who knows when Cross Guild is ever going to drop. The effect itself, though, of giving the buff to critical hit, we saw this effect with Kizaru Fuji during the film celebration late last year. And this component really doesn't matter. Like, this really doesn't give you that much additional damage. Yeah, it does give you more damage, yes, but it only works for characters with crit. It's kind of like a whatever ability. It just doesn't really matter, honestly. So I'm not really too worried about this. Like, this is just whatever. And then, like, the effect of the damage dealt from normal attacks in the previous turn, I also feel like this effect isn't gonna see that much play. Yes, you can do meme stuff with it, but I don't think it's like that busted. So in my opinion, the only good components of this special bind and paralysis removal, and then the effect of tap timing chain increase. That's like the only part of the special that is gonna be used all the time. Like, these other effects are just kind of whatever, honestly. That's the way I see it. His two sailor abilities let him evade paralysis and special bind completely. That is very useful. He has the critical hit potential ability, he has hunger, and he does have fear resistance. So I'm really thankful that he has fear resistance. This makes his usability as a sub much higher. And then he has a support, which is bad. That is unfortunate. And then a rumble cost of 20, which we like to see. And then the rumble special with a 28 CT targets 3 enemies with high current HP for defense ignoring 2.5 times damage, and then targets himself for a 600 HP heal or at interval auto healing for 15 seconds, and gives himself level 7 defense also for 15 seconds. This component of the healing and the defense is kind of okay, but this is pretty nuts, especially if you're able to get pretty good investment into SHawk. This is going to be crazy in terms of the damage that you're able to do, because not only does it do damage to defense, but it does target characters with high HP. And while this means you're probably not going to get a lot of KOs with this guy, unless if all of the enemies have like really low HP, but this is nice for just getting those characters lower. Sometimes characters have really high HP, really bulky units, and they are actually really hard to get down to that lower threshold. And SHawk allows you to just do a bunch of damage towards those characters, get them lower, so that potentially you can come in with a Gear 5 burst skill to knock them out, you know, just giving you guys some ideas. I think it's an okay special. Like 2.5 damage through defense to 3 targets is very, very strong. This is a character that will likely see play, not only because the special is good, but 20 cost is really nice too. Rumble resistance here, evading action bind, 30% damage reduction versus Psy, and increased damage versus against Psy characters. So he takes less damage and does more damage against Psy characters. And then his actual Rumble ability gives into level 6 health, which is okay, but then gives buffs to slashes, level 5 defense, level 5 speed, and when he has below 50% HP, he gets all characters level 5 attack. So I don't think this Rumble passive is that amazing, because he kind of wants you to run him in either an int team or a slasher team. Remember, he is a slasher driven, and him being int already, he could synergize well with int driven characters. But how many int driven characters are also slasher? There's really not a lot of them that would actually work with him. The only one that really comes to mind straight away that would have perfect synergy would be int version 1 Doflamingo. That would be a really good unit to partner with this guy. But I think honestly, he could be used in an int team mainly just because you could have him on the squad, you could have him on the bench, come in and just absolutely decimate opponents. Or what you could do is you could just run him in a mono slasher team, because even though, you know, not everyone is going to receive the level 6 buff to their HP, he does still give slashers level 5 speed and defense, and then if he happens to fall below that threshold of health, he gets everyone level 5 attack. I think he's probably going to fit better on slasher teams, and the fact that we already have very good slasher teams with Roger Odin, you know, Roger Whitebeard, should I say, V1 Odin, K-Dad, and then this guy at 20 cost, you got Kawamatsu at 20 cost as well. That's going to be a pretty gross slasher team. Like, slashers are some of the best teams in Rumble right now, and this helps them tremendously. I think he's definitely going to see play on int teams, slasher teams for sure, but just the fact that he does the damage to defense, I mean, he could even see play on like a GP team that is focusing on like trying to charge the Gear 5 burst skill as fast as possible with like health cutters. Just having this guy on the squad to do so much damage against just anyone with damage through defense is a huge asset to the squad. And that's all the debut characters that actually are coming out with the next Rumble banner. So it's going to be interesting to see what gets boosted, who are they going to have alongside him. I really hope that they add Legend Apu alongside him. That'd be nice. Or even Kawamatsu. If they add back Kawamatsu straight away, I'd like that too, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully you enjoyed it though. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.